In a small town, there was a big, old school where many children studied. One day, a new girl named Eva joined the school. She was very quiet and hardly spoke to anyone. Her eyes always looked sad, and she kept to herself. Leo, a kind and friendly boy, noticed Eva sitting alone. He wanted to be her friend, so he walked up to her and smiled. "Hi, I'm Leo." "What's your name?" he asked cheerfully. Eva looked at Leo, hesitated for a moment, and then gave a small smile. "I'm Eva," she replied softly. Leo's smile grew wider. "Do you want to play with us?" he asked. Eva shook her head. "No, thank you," she whispered. Leo felt a little sad. He wanted to help Eva, but he didn't know how. As days passed, Eva remained quiet and distant. One day, while walking through the library, Leo saw Eva sitting alone, reading a book. Curious, he walked over and sat beside her. "Hi, Eva," he said. "What are you reading?" Eva gently turned the book toward him. It was a story about a princess. Leo's eyes lit up. "I love stories too," he said excitedly. "Do you want to read together?" Eva nodded. As they read, Leo noticed something strange. Every time Eva turned a page, she whispered something under her breath. At first, he thought he imagined it, but then he leaned in and listened carefully. His heart skipped a beat. Eva was whispering, "Help me." Leo's face turned pale. He looked at her. "Eva. Did you say something?" he asked hesitantly. Eva's big, sad eyes met his. "No," she said quietly. "I didn't say anything." Leo felt confused. He was sure he had heard it. But Eva denied it. Determined to find out more, he continued spending time with her. They read together every day, and each time, he still heard the whisper. One afternoon, Leo gathered the courage to ask, "Eva, where do you live?" Eva's expression darkened. "In the old house near the forest," she said softly. Leo's stomach tightened. He knew that house. It was large, abandoned-looking, and many people in town said it was haunted. Curiosity sparked in him. Can I come to your house?" he asked hesitantly. Eva hesitated but then nodded. "Yes. You can." After school, they walked to Eva's house together. The sky was cloudy, and the wind howled through the trees. When they reached the house, Leo felt a strange chill. The wooden door creaked loudly as Eva pushed it open. Inside, the air was cold, and the walls were covered in dust. Leo shivered. "Do you live here alone?" he asked. Eva shook her head. "No. I live with my mom. But she's always sick," she said in a sad voice. Leo felt a deep concern in his heart. "Can I meet her?" he asked gently. Eva's expression changed. Fear flickered in her eyes. "No," she whispered. "She doesn't like visitors." Leo's chest tightened. Something wasn't right. Leo couldn't stop thinking about Eva and the old house. Something about it felt strange, and he wanted to know the truth. The next day, he told his best friend, Mark, about everything. Mark was brave and curious. "Let's go to the house tonight," he said. "Maybe we can find out what's really going on." Leo hesitated. The thought of going there at night made his stomach turn, but he also wanted answers. After a moment, he nodded. "Okay. Let's do it." That night, they grabbed a flashlight and made their way to the old house. The wind howled through the trees, making the place feel even more eerie. As they stepped inside, the wooden floor creaked under their feet. The house was cold and silent. as if it had been abandoned for years. They walked through the dusty halls until they saw a door. It was locked. "Let's try to open it," Mark whispered. Just as they reached for the handle, the door creaked open by itself. Leo and Mark froze. A chill ran down their spines. Slowly, they stepped inside. The room was filled with old furniture, broken picture frames, and dust-covered books. Then, their eyes landed on a large portrait hanging on the wall. It was a picture of a woman. She looked exactly like Eva. Leo's voice was barely above a whisper. "Who is she?" Mark studied the picture and shook his head. "I don't know. But she looks just like Eva." Before they could say anything else, a soft whisper filled the air. "Help me." Leo and Mark's blood ran cold. The whisper was coming from inside the room. Without a second thought, they turned and ran as fast as they could, not stopping until they were far away from the house. The next day at school, Leo couldn't stop thinking about what had happened. He found Eva sitting alone and took a deep breath before asking, "Eva, who is the woman in that picture?" Eva looked down at her hands, her face filled with sadness. "She's my mom," she said softly. Leo's eyes widened. "But she looks exactly like you," Eva nodded. "Everyone says that." Leo hesitated, then asked, "Why doesn't your mom like visitors?" For a long time, Eva didn't say anything. Then, in a voice barely above a whisper, she said, "She's not well. She stays in her room all the time. She doesn't want anyone to see her." Leo's heart ached for Eva. He could see the pain in her eyes, and he knew there was more to the story. He made up his mind. He had to find out the truth. That night, Leo couldn't sleep. The whisper, the locked door, Eva's sadness, it all swirled in his mind. Finally, he grabbed his flashlight and decided to go back to the house alone. The streets were empty, and the night was quiet except for the sound of crickets. As he reached the old house, an eerie silence filled the air. Taking a deep breath, he stepped inside. The house felt colder than before. His footsteps echoed as he made his way to the secret room. The door was slightly open. The picture of Eva's mother was still there, staring at him. Then, he heard it, a soft, sad cry. His heart pounded. The sound was coming from another room. Slowly, he followed it until he reached a locked door. Gathering his courage, he knocked. There was a moment of silence. Then, a weak voice asked, "Who is there?" Leo's throat felt dry, but he forced himself to speak. "I'm Leo. Ava's friend." The door creaked open slowly. Leo held his breath as he saw a woman standing in the shadows. She looked exactly like Eva, but her face was pale, and her eyes were filled with tears. Who are you?" Leo asked hesitantly. The woman wiped her eyes. "I'm Ava's mother," she said in a trembling voice. "I need your help." Leo felt a shiver run down his spine. "What do you need?" She looked at him with deep sadness. "I'm not well," she whispered. "I need someone to help me." Leo wanted to help. "What can I do?" he asked. Ava's mother looked at him with hopeful eyes. "You need to find the key to the secret room." "It will help me," she said. Leo nodded. He didn't understand everything, but he knew he had to help. The next day, he told Mark about Ava's mom. Mark's eyes widened. "That's creepy. But if she needs our help, let's do it." Determined, they returned to the old house. They searched everywhere, under furniture, inside drawers, and behind shelves, but the key was nowhere to be found. Then, Leo remembered the picture of Ava's mom. He walked up to it and carefully lifted the frame. Behind it, there was a small wooden box covered in dust. His hands trembled as he opened it. Inside was a rusty, old key. Mark. I found it. Leo whispered excitedly. Mark's face lit up. Great! Let's go to Ava's mom. They rushed to the room where Ava's mother was waiting. When they showed her the key, her eyes filled with relief. Thank you, she whispered. Now, I can be free. Leo and Mark exchanged confused glances. What do you mean? Leo asked. Ava's mom gave a sad smile. I've been trapped in this house for a long time. This key will set me free. With slightly shaking hands, Leo put the key into the lock and turned it. The moment the door opened, a bright light filled the room. The cold air lifted, and for the first time, the house felt warm. Ava's mom looked at them with gratitude. Thank you, she said softly. Now, I can rest in peace. And then, right before their eyes, she disappeared. Leo and Mark stood frozen, their hearts racing. Did that really just happen? Mark whispered. Leo could barely find his voice. I think so. The next day, Leo told Ava everything. Ava listened quietly, her eyes filled with both sadness and relief. When he finished, she gave a small smile. Thank you, Leo, she said softly. You helped my mom. Leo hesitated. But what really happened to your mom? Ava took a deep breath. She died a long time ago, she admitted. But her spirit was trapped in that house. She needed someone to help her find peace. You and Mark set her free. Leo felt a chill run down his spine. Why didn't you tell me before? He asked. Ava looked down, her voice barely above a whisper. I was scared. I didn't want to lose my only friend. Leo's heart ached. Without thinking, he hugged her. You won't lose me, Ava, he promised. We're friends forever. For the first time, Ava smiled, a real, happy smile. Leo knew he had helped her in a way he never imagined. The strange letter. A week passed, and life slowly returned to normal. Leo and Ava spent more time together, laughing and talking like any other kids. One day, Leo went to his locker and found a letter. It had no name on it. Frowning, he opened it and read, Dear Leo, thank you for helping me. I have one last request. Please take care of Ava. She needs a friend like you. Always be there for her. With gratitude, Ava's mom. A chill ran down Leo's spine. Even after everything, he still wasn't sure if he believed in ghosts. But this letter. It was real. He clenched the paper in his hand, took a deep breath, and smiled. I promise, he whispered. Leo knew the letter was from Ava's mom. He carefully folded it and showed it to Mark. Mark's eyes widened. Wow, Leo. This is really special. You should keep this letter safe. Leo nodded. He understood that this was more than just a letter, it was a promise, a responsibility. He had sworn to always be there for Ava, and he would keep that promise. Ava's new beginning. As time passed, Ava began to change. She talked more, laughed often, and even started playing with the other kids. Everyone liked her. They saw how kind and smart she was, but no matter how many new friends Ava made, Leo and Mark remained her closest friends. They looked out for her, just as they always had. Together, they spent their days reading, playing, and exploring. One day, as they sat under a tree, Ava turned to Leo and smiled. Do you remember the old house? Leo nodded. Of course, I do. It was a scary time. But we helped your mom. Ava's eyes sparkled. I want to show you something. Curious, Leo and Mark followed Eva back to the old house. But as they approached, they noticed something surprising. The house looked different. The once dark and eerie place was now clean and bright. The air felt warm, and the heavy feeling of sadness was gone. Eva led them to the secret room. "Look," she said. Inside the room, there was a small garden. Flowers bloomed in vibrant colors, filling the space with life. "This was my mom's favorite place," Eva said softly. "I want to take care of it." Leo felt a deep warmth in his heart. "We'll take care of it together," he said. And so, the three friends tended to the garden every day. They planted new flowers, watered them, and made sure it remained a place of beauty and peace. One afternoon, as they were digging the soil, Mark's shovel hit something hard. "What's this?" he wondered. They carefully unearthed a small wooden box. Inside, they found a note and a delicate silver locket. Leo read the note aloud. "To my dear Eva, this locket is for you. It will always keep us connected. I love you forever, Mom." Eva's hands trembled as she picked up the locket. She clutched it close to her heart, tears forming in her eyes. "I can feel her," she whispered. "She's still with me." Leo and Mark smiled, happy to see Eva so joyful. The festival and a new dream. As the years went by, Eva's happiness continued to grow. The school was planning a big festival, and everyone was excited. There would be games, food, and fun activities. Leo, Eva, and Mark decided to take part in the festival by setting up a small flower booth. They carefully picked flowers from their special garden, arranging them beautifully. When people heard the story of the old house and the garden, they were amazed. "These flowers are special," Eva told them. "They remind us of love and friendship." The festival was a huge success. Leo, Eva, and Mark had fun and even made new friends. The future they built together. Years passed, and the three friends grew up. No matter how much time went by, they never forgot the old house and their secret garden. It remained a place of memories and love. Eva worked hard in school and excelled in her studies. One day, she shared her dream with Leo and Mark. "I want to help kids like me," she said. "I want to make them happy and give them hope." Leo smiled proudly. "You'll be a great teacher, Eva. You have a big heart." With the support of her best friends, Eva pursued her dream. Many years later, Leo, Eva, and Mark came together to do something extraordinary. They built a school. It stood near the old house, a place that had once been filled with sadness but was now full of hope. They named it Hope School. At the entrance of the school, they planted flowers from Eva's special garden. It became a symbol of love, hope, and friendship. Every day, as they watched children learn and grow, they remembered the old house, the whispers, and the woman in the picture. They knew they had helped Eva's mom find peace, and in doing so, they had found their own happiness too.